Welcome to Alaska Weather. This is Holloway with the National Weather Service, April 28, 2021. A couple options for you, 1-800 number and a website, weather.gov/Alaska. And lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at the email listed at the bottom of the page. For the breakout map today, Wednesday, April 28th, seeing some open areas along the Tanana River, even some mostly open areas there as well, and that also has been noted along the Nenana River and the southern fork of the Kuskokwim, as well as some open areas in the Susitna Basin. For River Watch, if you have any reports you'd like to send or talk to a hydrologist or send some photos, please email nws.ar.aprfc@noaa.gov. And again, to talk to somebody at the River Forecast Center, 1-800-847-1739. For hazardous weather, we don't have any watch warnings or advisories out for the entire state. And again, that extends up into the interior and North Slope. For the satellite image, weak low pressure system in the Gulf of Alaska, weakening warm front approaching the southern panhandle, bringing some rain showers there, also some cloudiness along the southeast interior, and some cloudiness and some light snow showers associated with a weakening cold front across the western interior, and that extends up into the northwest coast. And lastly, another low pressure system near Shimia, bringing some clouds and precipitation out there in the western Aleutians. And you can see on the surface map, 984 millibar low there with an occluder front, bringing some light rain showers associated with that system. And there's the weakening cold front across the western interior, extending up into the northwest coast, bringing some lingering snow showers associated with that system. Otherwise, low pressure system in the Gulf, 997 millibar low there. Weak trough out ahead of that system, bringing some light rain in the Gulf region, and a weak warm front pushing through the southern panhandle, bringing some light to moderate rainfall with that. For tonight's weather, that low south of the Aleutians continues to weaken with an occluder front there, 1023 millibar high in the Bering Sea, and the complex trough weakening cold front over the interior, bringing some scattered snow showers across that region, and that extends down to the south central with another low analyzed at 1004 millibars there, and some snow showers across the Copper River Basin. Otherwise, a weak trough in the Gulf region, bringing rain showers across much of the Gulf, and 1004 millibar low near the Panhandle, bringing possibility of heavy rainfall across the southern portions of the Panhandle. For Thursday's weather, that low near the Aleutians continues to weaken, 996 millibar low with that weakening occluder front. Light rain showers out ahead of that system across the central and western Aleutians, and again, that trough over the mainland continues to weaken. Some lingering snow showers continues into Thursday, and that low near the south central yesterday would move slightly east to a 999 millibar low near the southeast interior, and that low near the Gulf continues to weaken, 996 millibar low there, with rain showers out along the Gulf region and possibility of moderate to heavy rain in the Panhandle, snow showers further inland across the northern portions of the Panhandle. For Friday's weather, that low finally makes it into the Yukon Territory, 1000 millibars low there, with lingering snow showers across the southeast interior down through the Alaska Range, and snow showers along the Brooks Range associated with that trough over the North Slope there, 1008 millibar low up there just off the northwest coast, and that low south of the Aleutians now 998 millibar low there, and a weakening low near the Panhandle, bringing some light to moderate rainfall over the Panhandle. For low temperatures Thursday morning, looking at 45 in Ketchikan, 44 in Sitka, 41 in Juneau, 36 in Yakutat, 34 in Valdez, 33 in Talkeetna, 40 in Anchorage, 35 in Kenai, 38 in Homer, 39 in Kodiak, 36 in King Salmon. For high temperatures Thursday afternoon, 50 in Ketchikan, 49 in Sitka, 48 in Juneau, 49 in Haines, 47 in Yakutat, 51 in Valdez, 53 in Talkeetna, 48 in Kenai, 48 in Homer, 47 in Kodiak, 46 in King Salmon. Low temperatures Friday morning, 42 in Ketchikan, 42 in Sitka, 40 in Juneau, 38 in Yakutat, 38 in Valdez, 32 in Talkeetna, 36 in Anchorage, 32 in Kenai, 36 in Homer, 37 in Kodiak, 29 in King Salmon. High temperatures Friday afternoon, 48 in Ketchikan, 47 in Sitka, 46 in Juneau, 46 in Yakutat, 49 in Valdez, 49 in Talkeetna, 46 in Anchorage, 46 in Kenai, 47 in Homer, 47 in Kodiak, 45 in King Salmon. For the no slope and interior, low temperatures Thursday morning, 11 in Kaktovik, 14 in Ukjavik, 18 in Point Hope, 19 in AKwx Pass, 25 in Fort Yukon, 20 in Eagle, 31 in Fairbanks, 26 in Galena, 21 in Nome. High temperatures Thursday afternoon, 24 in Kaktovik, 22 in Ukjavik, 24 in Point Hope, 32 in AKwx Pass, 51 in Fort Yukon, 55 in Eagle, 51 in Fairbanks, 37 in Galena, 29 in Nome. For Friday morning, low temperatures, Kaktovik 13, Ukjavik 13, 15 in Point Hope, 16 in AKwx Pass, 29 in Fort Yukon, 26 in Eagle, 31 in Fairbanks, 22 in Galena, 19 in Nome. For high temperatures Friday afternoon, 26 in Kaktovik, 23 in Ukjavik, 24 in Point Hope, 48 in Fort Yukon, 53 in Eagle, 43 in Fairbanks, 40 in Tananoff, 29 in Nome. For the Southwest, Alaska Peninsula and Aleutians, Thursday morning, 28 in Aniak, 27 in Bethel, 35 in Dillingham, 34 in Cold Bay, 36 in Dutch Harbor, 37 in Shemya, 29 in St. Paul. For high temperatures Thursday afternoon, looking at 37 in Aniak, or 40 in Aniak, 37 in Bethel, 41 in Cold Bay, 41 in Dutch Harbor, 39 in Shemya, 34 in St. Paul. And for Friday, low temperatures 24 in Bethel, 29 in Dillingham, 30 in Cold Bay, Dutch Harbor 34, Shemya 36, and St. Paul 28. And for Friday afternoon, high temperatures 39 in Aniak, 37 in Bethel, 43 in Dillingham, 42 in Cold Bay, 42 in Dutch Harbor, 38 in Shemya, 35 in St. Paul. For the climate outlook for the 6 to 10 day temperature ending May 8th, looking at slight tilts of below normal temperatures across much of the southern mainland, and that extends down in the Panhandle, and again near normal conditions along the North Slope. And for the precipitation associated with the 6 to 10 day, and again ending at May 8th, looking at above normal tilts across much of the Bristol Bay region and across portions of the southern mainland, and that extends down into the Panhandle with near normal conditions across much of the rest of the mainland.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the aviation forecast, starting with the flying weather on Thursday morning, we'll be watching a system pull through the midsection of the state, while we'll be also observing another system coming up the into the Gulf near the Panhandle, bringing some IFR conditions there. So, marginal conditions start out across the western interior, and some IFR conditions through the Bering Sea and Aleutians, as well as southern end of the Panhandle. And then by Thursday afternoon, again, that system moving through the midsection brings marginal conditions down through south central and into Kodiak Island and across western into the central interior, as well as IFR conditions through the Bering and Aleutians, and IFR conditions down there in the Panhandle and portions of the northwest coast along the North Slope. For Friday morning, again, that system pulling through the midsection brings marginal conditions there, IFR conditions through the Panhandle and northeast Gulf Coast, and Bering Sea and Aleutians will see some IFR conditions down there, and again some lingering IFR conditions along the northwest coast of the North Slope. And Friday afternoon, finally exiting the state with marginal conditions through the eastern portions of the mainland up through the Brooks Range, otherwise IFR conditions through the northwest coast, and also throughout much of the Bering and Aleutians, as well as the Panhandle. For past conditions Thursday, AKwx VFR, same for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal conditions. Rainy, marginal as well. For windy VFR early, I think you can get by with that, and then turning to marginal conditions during the day with that system moving through. Isabel, and this is for Thursday, VFR conditions there. And for Mentasta on Thursday, VFR conditions. Tanita, VFR early, turning to marginal. And Portage, marginal all day down there. And for Chilkoot and White, marginal conditions there as well. For freezing levels, the 2,000-foot freezing level lies on top of the surface freezing level, cutting across the Panhandle, northern part of the Panhandle, and across into south central Alaska, over into the southwest and down through portions of the central Bering. And again, if you get into the southern Bering and the Aleutians, you get elevated freezing levels up to about 6,000 feet, then drops back down to 4,000 feet. Otherwise, elevated freezing levels out in the Panhandle. For icy conditions on Thursday, above 4,000 feet there in the northwest part of the state, with considerable moderate possibilities up there with an area of that, and then between 8 and 10,000 feet across the Panhandle, and between 7 and 10,000 feet in the central and western Aleutians. For the jet stream on Thursday, strong jet just south of the Panhandle, 115 knots down there, otherwise 70 to 90 knots across the Panhandle in southwesterly flow, low pressure system in the northern Gulf. Otherwise, winds across the mainland from the southwest at 40 knots, and again 70 knots out across the southwest region of the state, and northerly flow there 70 knots as you get just south of St. Lawrence Island, and again around the low pressure system just south of the Aleutians, 50 knots in a southerly flashing across there. And for 9,000 foot winds on Thursday, light and variable across much of the mainland, otherwise southwesterly flow across the Panhandle, 45 knots down there, and then northerly flow across the Seward Peninsula and in through the White Delta with 30 knots out there. And then again around the low pressure system, winds generally from a easterly direction, 45 knots out there in the western Aleutians. For 3,000 foot winds on Thursday, again low pressure systems around the state, otherwise northerly flow across the western mainland, westerly flow across the Panhandle up to 40 knots down there, and easterly flow across the Aleutians up to 30 knots down there. And for turbulence on Thursday, below 4,000 feet there in the Seward Peninsula region with areas of considerable moderate up there, and below 3,000 feet across the western Aleutians and areas of considerable moderate. Also another pocket of considerable moderate possibilities across the Panhandle, and below 5,000 feet out there. Otherwise, again, just isolated to moderate areas across the state in various parts of the region.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder. As you well know, you can get forecast information for any day of the week. Today, tonight, tomorrow, out to 6 or 7 days. It includes the high and low temperature, the wind direction, the chance of rain or snow in your part of Alaska. But did you know that there is information available to forecast out to 2 weeks? So the question is, how would you use that information? And here to answer that question today and tell us a lot more about climate services from the U.S. National Weather Service Alaska region is Rick Toman. He's the program manager for the Climate Science and Services. And Rick, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
How would we use information that is out to 2 weeks instead of just the high and low and the chance of rain?
Well, Dave, as we move out in time, of course, forecasts become more uncertain. So as we move into that second week from now, we're not looking at specific highs or lows or precipitation amounts at any given place. What we can do with the state of the science at this point is get a handle on patterns. So we can say things like increased chances for stormy weather in the Bering Sea in 2 weeks, or we've been in a cold weather pattern, looks like 8 to 10 days from now, that pattern's going to change. Those are the kind of forecasts that we can currently make in that second week.
So you're increasing lead time for perhaps big or small weather events and telling us the likelihood of maybe more coastal storms or wind events in some areas?
Those are the kinds of things that that we hope to be able to let Alaskans know in the second week forecast. And if you have an activity or an event that you would find that kind of advance notice useful, whether it's moving stuff off of the beach, whether to go out hunting or to come back from camp, those kind of decisions, the week 2 provides the opportunity for you to get a handle on that kind of information.
Okay. What other type of weather impacts that we're familiar with might Alaskans use climate services for?
Well, in the forecast realm, we can go provide some information from this week 2, say the 8 to 14 day period, on out to the monthly and even seasonal time scale. Now, those monthly seasonal forecasts are still kind of just really very much pattern dependent, and the amount of detail that we can provide at this point is still pretty limited. Generally, indications of how temperature and precipitation will fall in maybe above normal, below normal kind of range. But in the week 2 period, we can be considerably more specific than that as far as the general patterns and really the impacts on Alaskans.
Okay, so we would be talking about generalizations there that would tell us that the period might be more stormy, might be more hot, more dry, more cold, and situations like that.
That's correct. So we're not going to be able to say in which community, for instance, there's the threat of coastal flooding, but we can often be able to tell we're moving into a pattern that would be conducive to big Bering Sea storms. So if you're in an area that could potentially impact you, you'll want to pay attention to the weather forecast.
Okay. Now, every day and every hour of the day, the National Weather Service is working on a forecast for the next day. But how do you start your forecast process for that extended period that goes out beyond 7 days?
Well, the way things work right now, we start off with the expected general flow pattern for Alaska and the whole world, really, and then we narrow that down to Alaska. So we start off with the basic computer model forecast. There's quite a few different computer models that we look at, bring those together. And then another important part of that is we attempt to assess the confidence. The reality is often 2 weeks away, the computer models are very divergent. They have lots of different solutions, and that's an indication that we don't have much confidence. But when we see more agreement in that time frame, and when that agreement is a pattern that will be potentially very impactful for Alaska or is a big change from what we've been in, that's when we can then take that expected pattern. We have computer models forecasting it. We've assessed the confidence. Now we can move that forward. How, using our experience as Alaskan weather forecasters, how does that typically play out for Alaska? So is this a stormy pattern for the Bering Sea? Is this an extra rainy period for Southeast? Is this the kind of pattern that generates strong winds potentially in the Anchorage Bowl? Is this a deep cold pattern for the interior? All of those are the kind of things that we're looking at in these large-scale patterns. That's very different than telling you that the winds on 10 days from now are going to be gusting to 120 on the hillside. We're looking for patterns, not the very specific information that the Weather Service will then hone in on as the event gets closer.
So the idea is to keep the 5, 6, 7 day forecast the same, where you are getting the standard high and low temperature and the chance of wind or rain, but further out you get a broad general forecast, but as the time gets closer to that event, we'll get a lot more specific.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. So how can people use this information if I am out in the bush and I want to see, is a coastal storm expected in my region, or is a chance for that improving over the next 2 to 3 weeks? Where could I go to get information like that?
When we see that potentially impactful or a big change in the weather is coming 8 to 14 days out, typically we will start to highlight that on the Weather Service Facebook site. We might produce a YouTube video highlighting that, linking that on our Facebook site. So often at this point, we don't have much to say in that because we're really looking for those forecasts of opportunities. But one thing we can say very likely as we go through the next 2 or 3 years, there'll be more and more of this kind of forecast information available in that week 2 time frame.
Okay, and something that emergency managers and city planners and folks in villages might be interested in keeping an eye out for, looking for that information to be headlined, whether that's on social media or perhaps through the National Weather Service channels there to get information from you to make better plans a little bit longer term and make better preparations in the event that things become a little bit more unsettled.
Absolutely. Climate Services with the National Weather Service Alaska region is talking to the state of Alaska every week, apprising them of that 2-week outlook. And on the social media side, we are working to keep Alaskans informed so that when we think we have some confidence in a high impact or a big change, that's the best way right now for folks to find out about that. Twitter, Facebook, so stay tuned to your National Weather Service.
Very good, a developing program. Rick Toman with the National Weather Service Alaska region. He's a Climate Science and Services Program Manager. Thanks so much for joining us again, Rick, and I hope to have you back again soon.
Great, thanks Dave.
For another edition of Alaska Weather Facts, I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder. We'll see you next time. And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the marine forecast, starting with the ice edge, you can see some lower concentrations of ice just off the YK Delta into the southwest region as well. Also, we have a little bit of ice still left in Cook Inlet and even into Bristol Bay region. Also some plenias around St. Lawrence Island, and also some lower concentrations of ice in Norton Sound. Looking at the marine forecast with southeast winds generally from the southerly direction across the inside waters there up to 30 knots there with seas as high as 10 feet. Outside waters winds generally from a southerly direction 15 to 20 with seas as high as 10 feet. For marine forecast on Friday for the inside waters winds generally from the southwest or southeast at 15 to 30 with seas as high as 6 feet up there in the Lynn Canal. And for the outside waters, winds generally from a variable direction up to 15 with seas as high as 8 feet. For south central on Thursday, for Prince William Sound, winds generally from the north at 10. For the Gulf region, winds variable at 10, seas as high as 5 feet. And for the Cook Inlet region, winds variable at 15 to 20 with seas as high as 3 feet. And for Friday, south central region, Prince William Sound, winds generally from the east at 15 with seas as high as 2 feet, and for the Gulf region, winds generally from the west at 20 to 30 with seas as high as 8 feet, and for the Cook Inlet region, winds generally from a easterly direction 10 to 35 with seas as high as 9 feet. Look for small craft advisory there on Friday. And for Thursday's forecast, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, for a region around Kodiak Island, winds variable at 10 to 15 with seas as high as 5 feet. For the south side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the north at 15, seas as high as 7 feet. And the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the north at 20, seas as high as 7 feet. For Friday, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the west at 20 to 25 at seas as high as 7 feet. South side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the northwest at 10, seas as high as 8 feet. And for north side of Alaska Peninsula, winds generally from the north at 10 to 15 with seas as high as 5 feet. For Aleutian Chain on Thursday, winds generally from a easterly direction at 10 to 25 with seas as high as 11 feet. And for Friday, winds generally from a northeasterly direction at 15 to 20 with seas as high as 8 feet. For West Coast on Thursday, winds generally from a northerly direction at 15 to 20 with seas as high as 7 feet near the Pribs. And for Friday, winds continue out of the north at 10 with seas as high as 5 feet just south of St. Matthew Island. For the Arctic coast on Thursday, on the Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from a easterly direction 10 to 25, and down through the Bering Strait, looking at winds generally from a northwesterly direction at 15 to 20. And for Friday, on the Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from the east at 15, up through the Chukchi Sea region, winds generally from the east at 10, and down through the Bering Strait, winds generally from the north at 10 to 15. For tonight's weather, we're again going to be looking at a weakening low pressure system just south of Aleutians with a 996 millibar low there, weakening includer front, high pressure over the Bering Sea, 1023 millibars there, and a weakening cold front over the interior and out through the northwest coast, bringing some scattered snow showers there. And lastly, a low pressure system over near the Panhandle, bringing some moderate rain, possibly heavy over the southern Panhandle. Otherwise, some lingering snow showers across the northern portions of the Panhandle there and into the Gulf Coast and along the Copper River Basin. For Thursday's weather, looking at that weakening low just south of Aleutians, 996 millibar low with, again, that weakening included front. And with troughs over the mainland, lingering snow showers across much of the central mainland, and that extends up into the Brooks Range and North Slope. Otherwise, low pressure system in the Gulf region, 996 millibar low there, bringing some light snow showers in the Gulf region, possible moderate to heavy rain in the Panhandle, snow showers further inland into Canada and the southeast interior. And lastly, on Friday, weakening low in the eastern interior, 1000 millibars there, and low pressure near the Gulf.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.